Saturday, the 15th of October 2016. This is a chart update for the US dollar gold price. It's obviously been a pretty poor couple of weeks for gold, crunching back through and below 1300 last week, which was a key support level from the Brexit vote. So when it went through there, it went through very quickly, and since then has sort of trended slightly lower gradually for the last week and a half. I'm thinking that might be a bit of a short-term bottom here, and that there's a decent buying opportunity here. There's a couple of reasons for that, and I've circled a few sort of these little consolidation zones after a bit of a down move. Tend to break to the upside, unless it can. You can see here sort of between that 5 and 10 day range. If it doesn't break lower again in that range, you're more likely to see a move to the upside, and I mean that's at least what the chart's showing here. Particularly in the last year, there's been a couple of those moves. This one in late May was a classic. I mean, it's almost identical to what we have here. Maybe not quite so severe. This move here down 1300, down through 1300 was pretty severe. I think mainly because of stop losses that had been accumulating in the market around that 1300 level. But I'm thinking we might see a similar sort of formation here. And any poor data that comes out of the US might be an opportunity for this to move back up higher. The other thing that sort of leads me to believe that this could be a bit of a short-term bottom is these repeating down ranges that I've drawn on the chart here in the last couple of years. These tend to be in that sort of $130, $140 ranges. I mean that the slope of the moves isn't always identical, and obviously there's a little gyrations around that trend line, but it tends to be a decent guide that it might be time for the market to move higher again. And you can see here that we peaked out around about 1370, was it 1374, and it bottomed the other day around 1240. So we've kind of had that sort of $130, $140 move already, and I think on the balance of probabilities, there's a decent chance that we've completed this sort of downtrend move in the last couple of months. And some of the stock behavior toward the end of last week on the Australian market, I tend to believe that often the stocks act as a bit of a leading indicator for the gold price. On a sort of a few days ahead, for example, and we saw quite decent moves on the Australian in a lot of the gold stocks on the Australian market on Thursday in particular. So I'm thinking there might be a bit of a turning point here very soon. I'm not to say that it's going to go back up to 1350, but I think we might have reached a short-term sort of bottom anyway. And you can see here it's been in that oversold range for like a week now, or maybe a bit longer. And generally when it reaches that oversold sort of territory, you see a bit of a short-term rally. How long that rally goes is probably going to be up to data. I know the Dow and the S&P 500 aren't looking great from a charting perspective either. But in the next, say, 2 or 3 weeks, it wouldn't surprise me to see gold try and trend back up to 1300. And that would be a key sort of point. If it breaks lower below 1250, I think 1200 definitely comes into play. That was a key bottom here when it back tested 1200 and went back up again. But I think if 1200, obviously 1200 is sort of a line in the sand, and I've said this a few times this year in these videos. If 1200 goes, you sort of got to question this move and whether it has long-term legs. Certainly the trading in a lot of these stocks suggests to me that this is a new bull market, if you want to call it that. Fibonacci retracements, not something I use often, but they are a decent guide to the sort of thing I'm talking about in terms of just natural trend of markets, and that's these sort of down moves. And the 38% sort of level is a key level that people always talk about with Fibonacci retracements, and you can see here it's right on that 1250 from this move this year. So that's a key level, and I think if that goes, then 1200 is certainly probably a high chance of happening. But short term, I'm thinking more likely we're going to bottom in the next week, and then maybe make a move back up to try and retest 1300.